Hello there, and welcome to the tour of the Greenhorn class Civilian Gunship, the 19th vehicle in my Wimpomania line of vehicles, and the second of the Wimpomania segment ships. My name is Wimpoman, and I am the Chief Designer, Chief Builder, Chief Architect, and of course Chief Dumbass behind both the Greenhorn class update project and the Wimpomania segment ship project. Okay, one quick thing to say is that so the Wimpomania segment ships are built using a full modular construction system, and at the end of the video in the other info bit we will go up to the construction area where you will see the kit I used to build the segment ships. But those of you familiar with my tours will know that I refer to parts of the video as segments, but I'm also referring to these wider bits of the segment ships as segments. So this bit here that is one block wider on each side than the connectors. So for clarity, I'm going to continue to referring to those parts of the ship as segments, but the parts of the video I would normally call segments, I'm going to refer to as sections. Thank you, Bob Jenkins, for that suggestion. Right, so before I show you around the updated Greenhorn, I'm first going to show you the original ship. Okay, so over here we have the original segment ships that were built pre 1.0, so before the game was fully released, so still in early access. So I had a sort of 2, a sort of 3 segment and a 4 segment ship. Now I say sort of 2 and sort of 3 because actually this one only has 1 segment, and then from there forward it doesn't go wider, so it is just that 1 segment. And then I basically squeezed the cockpit into a space that's only as wide as what it was then the connector. And this one has 2 segments, and again I've then just lengthened the width of the connector there. See, there is a connector there too. I've just lengthened that and made that the cockpit. So that is the fledgling class asteroid miner. This was the freshman class transporter. And here we have the original Greenhorn, which, as I said, was 4 segments. So the 4th segment I sort of made the cockpit and added I squeezed in a really small living area. I mean, really small. Actually, it's that small living area isn't even in the front segment. I've lengthened the connector. Okay, I couldn't remember that. So there's the original Greenhorn. Now, one of the important things to point out is that when this was built, there was no such thing as shields, and there was also no such thing as pilot mode. I should say as well. Actually, no, I'm not going to say it now. I'll say it in a minute. So as you can see, all its weapons are down one side, just like the updated one. And the idea of this is you would fly around and around in an orbit of a POI on the ground, using the guns down one side to take it out. Now, the updated one, if we go and have a quick look, is only 3 segments, whereas the original was 4. So this one here, as you can tell, has a big hangar door in it, and it is actually a hangar bay. Now, I wanted the gunship to be a 4 segment ship because I already had what I thought or considered to be a 2, even though it's only 1, and a 3, even though it was only 2 segments. So I wanted a 4 segment ship, and I wanted the gunship to be the 4 segment ship, but I couldn't think of what to put in this segment. So I just put a hangar bay in. Now that doesn't actually make a lot of sense, so when I've come to update these segment ships, I've rejigged them around a bit, so the gunship is now a 3 segment like this one, because the hangar bay just isn't needed on a gunship. And then this middle segment is, so in here it's core and ammo and O2. But so the new one, that is where the shield and the ammo is, the main ammo anyway. On top of that, so I've got these things sticking out from the side. So as far as I remember, there was no such thing as retractable turrets either when this was built. So I didn't have the in-universe lore, L-O-R-E, that says that there is a law, L-A-W, where only military craft can have their weapons on display and civilian craft have to have their weapons retractable. There was no retractable at the time, so I couldn't do that. But one of the things I regretted is only having 4 cannon turrets for attacking the ground on these sticky-outy arm bits. The other 2 are sort of sideways, and so they weren't very good at targeting stuff that these could. So the new one, I've put all 8 cannon turrets on arms like this. One of the other things you'll notice is that there are some sideways pointing thrusters. The idea of that was that, as in dotted around, and there's certainly more pointing that way than there are pointing this way. And that was because you would orbit the enemy base on the ground in a right-hand, clockwise rotation. And so you would be leaning slightly over to the right. Now at the time, the only way, so there was no such thing either as, I don't know how you would put this, the thrusters didn't control its agility. So the thrusters didn't yaw, pitch and roll. It was the RCSs that did that. So the thrusters weren't as advanced, the programming in the game. So what would happen is it would quite often slip sideways as you would do a circle. So that's why I put extra thrusters pointing that way, so that as you're leaning over you don't slide downwards and out of the air. Oh, the other thing I want to say, so the new one has a tier 1 shield. Now this one, like I said, was pre-shields, so it didn't have any shield. Now if you have a look on my channel for the original Greenhorn demonstration, you will see me taking on, I will pause it, and I didn't speak in this. So I take on a group of Xerax ground bases. As you can see, there was 4 of them, including these. And although at one point my engineering segment did explode, I turned on the backup generators that are in the hangar bay for some reason. Is there only one? Oh, single backup generator. So I turned that on and then went back and fought. Now, okay, so the POIs didn't have any shields either. But I was able to win. I won against all 4. I did take a whole lot of damage, like I said. I lost basically the back end. But I did win the fight. Which means that with shields, even if the POIs have shields, it should be easier to win without taking catastrophic damage. Okie dokie, I think that'll be the end of that bit. Right, so the next section is going to be its role and its task equipment. Okay, so its role is, as I said, a civilian gunship. Now, just again for clarity, when I say gunship when referring to any of my builds, I'm referring to a ship, a vessel, a craft that performs the gunship role in the same way that the AC-130 Spectre gunship does. Again, with all its weapons down one side and it circles round and round what it wants to shoot at. As opposed to a ground attack helicopter, which is also in real life referred to as gunships. And of course there are plenty of vessels in things like Star Citizen that are called gunships, and they're all forward firing as well, and they tend to be anti-ship ships. So when I say gunship, this is what I mean. Guns down one side to target stuff on the ground. So, to facilitate its ground attack role, it has 8 cannon turrets, all set to attack stuff on the ground down its starboard side. It does have a couple of Gatlings set to anti-personnel and a few sentries set to point defense as well. But that's its main equipment that it uses to facilitate that task. You could count the shield. And the armor panels all down the one side. These are these black things. Is my helmet on? No. There we go. So we have some armor panels dotted around to help protect the side that's facing towards the enemy. So there we go. That's what it uses to facilitate its role. Okie dokie, so that'll be the end of that section. The next section is going to be its propulsion, handling and lift capacity. Okay, so I forgot to mention it when the original was out and when I showed you this video. So I might as well say it now because it is still part of the handling. And I did mention there was no pilot mode at the time. I'm going to mute this. But if we have a look, because there was no pilot mode, I'm constantly having to move the mouse to the right, pick it up, move it, turn it to the right, pick it up, move it. I did not mean to click. So that's how at the time you had to keep and we'll get back to that when I give it a test fly, and I will give it a test fly because I'll show you how it's supposed to circle round and round, although I'm sure many of you will figure it out. So, propulsion. I forgot to turn the thrusters on. As usual, I will leave it on the ground so we don't have to put up with the noise of the lift thrusters lifting it. So, forward propulsion. It has 8 medium thrusters. We're not going to get... There you go, prove it. Because I've covered them up with grills. But 8 mediums, 4 in the back of each nacelle. For braking and reverse, it is the same. So 4 medium thrusters in the front of each nacelle, 8 in total. Then for lateral thrust, this is where she is lacking slightly, in my opinion. But so we have 5 medium thrusters, 4 in each nacelle, and then another one at the front, plus a small. For descent, she has 6 mediums, 2 on the top of each nacelle, and 2 at the front as part of this thruster ring. Then lift, we have 13 medium thrusters. So there's 2 on each nacelle. Then there's 2 on the forward arms. 1 on each arm, I should say. Oh, yes, there's also an extra 1 underneath the cannon turret arrangements to help hold them up because they're quite heavy. So there's an extra 4 just on this side. And then there's another 2 as part of the thruster ring. And finally, we have its max lift thrusters. Those are the ones that are off at the moment. So we have 4 medium thrusters. So there are 2 on each nacelle, making 4 in total. And there is an extra small jet thruster here to help hold up the big cargo container that's inside on that side as well. So yeah, in high G's, there's a lot of weight on the starboard side, hence why all the extra thrusters. Right, so its mobility then, starting with its maneuverability, it'll accelerate forwards and reverse at 44 meters per second squared. It'll go sideways at 30, downwards at 33, and upwards at 72. That's with max lift off. And with max lift on, its upward acceleration goes from 72 to 100. Its agility, starting with yaw, 25 degrees per second, pitch is 24, roll is 75. With max lift on, it'll go, obviously yaw is the same, but it'll go from 24 to 31 in the pitch, and from 75 to 85 roll. Right, I am going to give it a test drive. Whoops. For the millionth time, put my hand back on the keyboard in the wrong place. Okay. So again, isn't brilliant, but it does make circling around, in my opinion, a little bit easier. So, the idea is, you turn on pilot mode, you start accelerating forwards, you roll a little bit, and then you turn like this. You might need to adjust how quickly you turn, so there would be about right. And assuming you get the angle of that correct, you should be able to maintain altitude on the left hand side there. I'm roughly maintaining altitude-ish. And you would fly round and round, round and round. I mean, at least you don't have to keep picking up and moving the mouse like you used to have to. And then, of course, like I said, all the cannon turrets down that side are blasting away at whatever POI you're flying round and round, is the idea. Alright, there we go. Oh shit. Pilot mode off, there we go. What's going on? Oh, I'm still in free cam mode. That's what's going on. Right. Right, landed. So, it's lift capacities, and as usual, there is a LCD HUD in the cockpit that, nope, wrong one, that shows you what its lift capacities are. But really quickly, it can operate in up to 7.3 G with its max lift off, and with max lift on, it will lift 7.7 kilotons in 4G, and the vehicle itself weighs 3.03 kilotons, so basically 3. So, generally speaking, it will lift itself basically twice, so itself and an extra 4.7-ish kilotons. Rightio, that'll be the end of that section. So the next section is going to be its power, fuel and air. Right, as usual with my tours, I'm going to tell you about this stuff now and then show you where it all is later on. So power, she comes with 6 large tier 1 generators, 14 medium tier 2 fuel tanks, a pentaxid tank, 14 small O2 tanks, 8 ventilators, an O2 station, and she's fully compartmentalized. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think 6 compartments. Okay, that'll be the end of that section. So the next section is going to be, it seems weird saying section and not segment, but never mind. This next section is going to be its weapons, defences and construction. Right, its weapons then. It has 4 sentry guns on the ends of the arms, and they are set to what I consider to be my point defence configuration. So they will target drones and ground troops, excluding predators, and also the weaponry of small vessels. So this is how they come stock. Obviously you can change these targeting configurations, parameters, any way you like. So yeah, there's 4 on each, 1 on each arm, 4 in total, blah blah blah. There is 2 Gatling turrets, and they are set to what I consider to be my anti-personnel configuration. So they will target ground troops, including predators and drones. In case you're wondering, I always call these Gatling turrets instead of minigun turrets, because as far as I understand, minigun is a brand of rotary barrel weapon made by General Electrics, whereas Gatling is the umbrella term for any rotary barrel weapon. I have said before, I don't know if it was their intention that General Electrics was actually manufacturing the rotary barrel weapons that we have in the game. I suppose it could be argued that the evidence would be that the developers are calling them minigun turrets. So that would be evidence that that is what they intend. But because it hasn't been expressed, I don't know. And then finally, of course, we have the 8 cannon turrets set to what I consider to be my ground attack configuration. So they will target the weapons of bases and HVs. And of course, the benefit of having all the weapons down the one side is that you can focus fire with them. If they were dotted around, if the ship was symmetrical, it wouldn't be as easy to, like I said, focus that much firepower onto a ground target all at one time. Aye, there we go. So, its defences, it does have some armour, as I pointed out earlier. We have some hardened steel armour panels on the sides that face towards the enemy. The where windows are, well, I was going to say needed. I wouldn't say it was needed, but where I chose to put windows within the armour panels, it's the armoured windows. There's also some grills covering the thrusters. And again, it has a shield generator in... No, wrong one. In that bit there. It's only a tier 1 shield, but there you go. It has one. It also has the core, which is in the back here under the slope. Shh! And the core itself is surrounded by hardened steel blocks, other than forward, where there's a Wi-Fi. But yeah, hardened steel, all the way around. And then outside of that is extra blocks of steel. Now, normally in my tour videos I have an unpainted one to show you how it's built, or how it's made, the blocks it's made from. Now, because of the way these segment ships are built, with modules up there at the construction area, I haven't been able to do that with these without going around removing every single texture painstakingly. I couldn't be bothered, to be honest, so I'm just going to have to talk you through it. It has a hardened steel structural frame, so generally speaking, it's all the blocks on the outside on this layer is hardened steel. And again, on this layer, around the outside, and then there's hardened steel connecting them from top to bottom at the extremities of the segments, and from side to side, again, at the front and the back of each segment. That then forms the structural frame. The structural frame is slightly different in the cockpit, but, you know, whatever. So the frame goes around the front here to help protect the pilots and the turret there. And around the top is similar, goes over there and around there and stuff. Again, hardened steel around the turrets, that's typical with my builds. And generally speaking, these bits are hardened steel around the edges of the top portions. Aye. Now, this is part of the construction as well, so I'm going to cover it. So, as I said, the segment ships are fully modular in construction. So, the modules that this one has at the back is the engineering segment that comes with an attached HV ramp up to the attached flat top pad. We have what I call small thruster nacelles. They are one segment in length. In front of that, we have the foyer lock connector. It's a connector because it goes in between two segments, by the way. Attached to that connector is a defense arm with a sentry turret on each, but no thruster, unlike these ones where there's the turret and a thruster on the arms. Oh, and also there's a little bit of what would be the continuation of the pads if it went further along. So this segment is the gunship segment that has two of the cannon turret emplacement things on the side. Also, the main ammo and the shield generator is in there, plus a couple of extra power generators to help power the shield. Forward of that, we have the medical connector, The window shutter is closed there, but there you go. So we have a medical connector with medical devices. Forward of that is the last segment, which is the survival segment. Now, the survival segment, if you saw the ship before this, the 18th, which was the Discoverer Personal Explorer, it's the same segment as that, except I have ever so slightly customized it. One of the main reasons, of course, is because there was a double window here where this attaches, so I removed that and then changed the interior around a little bit to accommodate the no window. Then we have the equipment ring, then we have a thruster ring, and then from that block forward is the cockpit. Aye. Righto, that'll be the end of that section. So the next section is going to be its resource gathering, production and storage. Right, so this section should be relatively quick. Resource gathering, it doesn't have any. Production does have some. It has an advanced constructor and 2 small constructors. It also has a food processor. And storage, it has a single 120,000 SU ammo container plus 2 8K ammo containers, so that's just the controllers with no extensions. Then it has a 280K and a 104K cargo container. It has an 8K water air quotes tank, which is just another cargo container pretending to be a water tank. 5 small cargo boxes, 3 armor lockers, 1 large fridge, and a single miscellaneous. And a partridge in a pear tree. Right, that'll be the end of that seg. I got to seg, doesn't count. So that's the end of that section. So the next section is going to be its interior layout and any remaining devices. As usual then, we'll start with any remaining devices that are on the outside of the ship, since that's where we already are. Landing gear, she has some. Headlights, she has some. 2 spotlights on the top there. Now they do point forward, they aren't diagonal. Speaking of lights, she is fully flight regulation lighting compliant, and as usual I will talk about this again, this stuff now, and show you it in action later on. So we have the running lights that you can see slowly pulsing away here, and they let any observer know that the ship is powered. As I've said in other videos, even I find those useful, because when I'm building a ship up at the construction area, I will quite often turn a ship that I've already built on in order to look for the name displays and registries that are of a similar size to what I want on the ship I'm building. So I'll turn a ship on, copy it, paste it onto the new ship, and then sometimes forget to turn the ship I've just copied it off of, turning it off. I know that wasn't correct, but I didn't want to say off again. So, as I always say, it's not particularly important in creative, but the lights and stuff all going is slightly more CPU intensive than turning it all off. And occasionally the running lights will catch my eye, and I will then know, that's still on, I need to turn it off. Right, the orientation lights have 2 flavours as usual. The first flavour is these illuminated orientation panels that act as its formation lights. And as usual, they are red on the port side, white on the stern side, and green on the starboard side, as well as yellow on the ventral side. And those are, like I said, formation lights for other ships to fly in formation with it. Then there is the navigation lights, and they are supposed to be used to show in which direction the ship is pointing and moving. So we have again red on the port side, we have white on the stern side, and we have green on the starboard side, although they're kind of hidden on the starboard side, but never mind. Then we have its anti-collision lights, and they come again in two flavours. The first flavour is the anti-collision beacons. Although I keep saying about the flight strobes, seeing those on planes, the anti-collision beacons are on planes as well, actually. They're the red flashing lights you will see on planes. So we have light red on the top, and they come on assuming that you use this switch here for turning the thrusters on and off. They won't, of course, if you use that switch. And they are also yellow on the bottom. Now, as I've told the story before, but I'll tell it again, present day, NASA has yellow nav lights on the bottom of their spacecraft, but they don't have anti-collision beacons at all, because who's going to be near them when they're moving? Because you're not. A passenger jet at an airport is obviously going to have even just ground crew around. So that's why... Oh, and the anti-collision beacons, I should have said, are to let any observer know that the thrusters are powered and it could therefore move at any moment. Same as real-life aircraft, except replace the word thruster with engines. So I figured by this point in the future, because this game is set 350 years in the future, as far as I can tell from stuff in the Empyropedia thingy, except in survival, I figured by that point the yellow nav lights on the ventral side will have morphed into anti-collision beacons, since these ships, like aircraft, need them. I'm waffling! So that's why they're yellow and they're... Right, okay. And then the second flavour of the anti-collision lights are the flight strobes. Those are the bright white flashing lights you see on the wingtips of planes. We have one there and one at the front, matching on the other side. And they are supposed to help with visual acquisition from a distance. As I always say, that doesn't necessarily translate very well into the game, because in the game the ship quite often renders before the lights do. But it's realism in it. Right, there's also the name and registry displays that you can see dotted around. You can name the ship whatever you want, Boaty McBoatface. In case you care, ISV simply stands for Interstellar Vessel, so a vessel that travels interstellarly, in between stellar objects, also known as between stars. Then we have the main registry. Again, you can change the number symbols to whatever you want. It's supposed to be the number of which yours is. It's going to be hard to tell that because this is an updated ship, and the original did I leave that playing? With Muton in the background. So it's going to be hard to tell how many or which one yours is, because this is an updated ship and there's already some people subscribed to it. So just make up a number and pretend that it's your registration number. Of course, WM19 simply stands for Wimpomania, the 19th ship in the Wimpomania line. And then we have its full registry over here, which includes its main registry. Oh, I should point out as well that it's always going to be fairly obvious which LCD projector is projecting which display, because it's usually going to be either the nearest, so for example that one is nearest to that one, so it's going to be that one, or it's going to be the only one around, like that one is over there. So the full registry includes some more information. The WMF simply stands for Wimpo Manufacturing, and then GSC is, I'm sure you can guess actually, Gunship Civilian. And then we also have its class and role there as well, Greenhorn Civilian Gunship. And again, you can change the number symbols or leave them the same or whatever, it's up to you. I think the last thing on the outside before we go in is the repair device that the game calls a bay, even though it's a single block, but that is up on the pad up here. And of course, as you saw, the ramp up to it is controlled by a sensor. In fact, you even saw the sensor when I was showing you the core. Oh, there's a Wi-Fi there in front of the core, but again, we saw that earlier. Okay, let's take a wander in then. and we're going to go in. So the last tour I went in through the top, but this time I'm going to go in through the side. Okay, so we go into the foyer lock. So foyer lock is a play on the words foyer and airlock, I'm sure you can tell, and it's because it acts as both. You go in and out through here, and you use it to access other parts of the ship. So, teleporter on that motion sensor. The single controller ammo boxes are in the ceiling, as well as some O2. O2 station, medical station, a pretend tank. That's the miscellaneous storage thing I mentioned earlier. 2 small cargo boxes and 3 armor lockers. Oh, gravity generator. There are 3 in here, 2 smalls and an extra small. One of the smalls is there above that ventilator. Obviously the lights in here are on that motion sensor there. Oh, and of course up the elevator and through that door is the landing pad. Through the orange door, which is manual. Oh, and as I keep saying in my tours, if I specify a door as manual, you can pretty much trust me. But if I don't specify it's manual, you're safe to assume it's automatic. So here we have the engineering in the engineering segment. Surprise, surprise. Field repair station. The repair console for the repair device up on the pad. Obviously ventilators and lights and sensors and stuff. There's the CPU extenders. Obviously there's space above them for the tier 4s if you need it. Fuel is there. We have access into, that's manual, into the thruster nacelles in case you want to add extra stuff in here. In survival, don't forget your helmet. In space, at least. Or a planet with not a breathable atmosphere. The port side reactor has 2 large tier 1 generators. I simply refer to as multiple generators in the same location as a reactor, just because I wanted to use the term reactor. Oh, pentaxi tank, warp drive, but I'm sure you saw that, and the other side is a mirror image. Aha. Righto then, moving forward of the foyer lock. Automatic door. Here we have the gunship segment. So we have the large ammo container, 120k, with a constructor for constructing ammo. We have another 2 large tier 1 generators in here. Again, that's to help power the shield. The shield is in here. I forgot to paint in here. I'll do it after the tour. Never mind. So I consider these to be my intercom panels, in case you are wondering. In here, this is the medical connector. So we have a patient bed, ablutions for the patient, shower and toilet. And of course the 4 medical devices, along with some stuff in the ceiling, including the extra small gravity generator. Through the door into the survival segment, we have the 280k cargo. We have the 104 cargo, along with a small and an advanced constructor, and a small arms and armor repair station. A seat for sitting in while you're waiting for that stuff to work. Some of the lights in here are on switches that are on the ceiling. Then we have a sort of kitchenette and a living-ish and dining-ish area here. Feel free to pop some more furniture in it if you like. And then through here we have the bathroom and toilets. Bedroom and toilet, yeah. Shower, head, double bunks. So this ship is crewed by 4 people. 8 if you want a hot bunk. I'm not sure why you'd want to. So, like the last one, we have some window shutters up at the window. Now, the signal of the one on the bottom, that was the wrong tab. This one gives off the signal that the one on top uses to follow. So, operating the bottom one will operate them both. There's the pretend make-believe water tank. Oh, and light switches on the ceiling again. Okay, moving forward, we're going to go through the equipment ring, which is where the last of the generators are. Oh, it's doing that stupid I'm going to keep going up thing. The detector is in here, as well as the forward Wi-Fi and a couple of extra O2 tanks. Here is the thruster ring, where the thrusters are at the front. And then we have the cockpit. So, sacrifices in aesthetics had to be made for the sake of functionality. I wanted the cockpit to have the 2 Gatling turrets on it, and I wanted them to be retractable in order to follow the law of the lore. And so, unfortunately, that does mean the looks of the interior in here is compromised. But never mind. Gunner seats for the turrets, the cannon turrets on this side. And then we have a pilot and a co-pilot seat, again with heads up. Oh yeah, just a reminder, your guns are on that side, okay? So as usual, the pilots have heads-up displays, giving you lots of information, including what the power save does, and its lift capacities. And it gives you a heads-up display of the device group and signal toggle shortcuts. And I'm going to use that heads-up display to segue into the next section, which is going to be its shortcuts and signals. Right then, as usual, please don't auto-group, because some of the device group toggles do rely on my custom device groups. So, device groups column, starting as usual with main propulsion. That will of course turn on what I referred to earlier as the default thrusters, and it'll turn on the anti-collision beacons. The next one down of course is max lift. That turns on the additional lift thrusters. Of course, you're more than welcome to use this switch if you want. That will of course leave the anti-collision beacons off, but you might not like them, so feel free. Right, the next one down that's actually in use is production and repair. So that will of course turn on and off at the same time. All of the constructors, the food processor, that doesn't turn off, does it? No. And the repair device and console and field repair station, I think, is an off-honourable. Yes, it is. So there you go, it'll turn all of those off. Oh, the console isn't. Is the pad the device? Yes, it is. So there we go, it'll turn those off too. Right, the next one down, of course, is artificial gravity. That turns on the artificial gravity generators. So if you are in a gravity well, either a natural one of a planet or an artificial one of a space station, you can save some power. And then we have air vents, which I am going to cover in case this is the first tour of mine you've seen, but I will try to do it quickly so that if it's not, you don't have to sit through a lengthy explanation. If we have a look at power left and turn oxygen off, the power left doesn't change because the ventilators are still on. So if you watch that and turn air vents off, you'll see that you can save extra power to save fuel in a breathable atmosphere. So turn those back on, and then the air noise. Thank you. Moving on to the signals column. As usual, the top one is power save. Now, turning power save on will turn off all of the motion sensors and the levers for controlling lights and ramps and stuff, with exception to this one on the back for getting HVs up there, because I didn't want you to have to get out of your HV, operate these manually, get back into the HV, drive up, get back out, operate. See what I mean? Yeah. However, these ones, of course, you're on foot anyway, so you just look up and activate it manually with power save on. It will also do all of the LCDs around the ship, both the name and registry displays on the outside and the HUDs on the inside. Oh, it'll also do that light, not that we particularly care. That light is not on a sensor, it's on power save. Oh, and the Wi-Fi's. Before I forget, it'll also do the wireless connection blocks. Next one down, weapons and shields. I'm sure you can guess what that does. Turns on all of the cannon turrets, the Gatling turrets, the sentry turrets, and the shield generator in here. The next one down in use, or the next two actually, let's cover them both. Nav lights and flight strobes. So again, the nav lights are red on the port side, the white ones on the stern, and the green ones on the starboard side. And the nav lights, you can see them strobing away there. No, the flight strobes are strobing away. There we go, bright white with the flashy flashy, as I always say. Don't know why, just do, funny. Right, headlight switch. We'll turn on the forward-looking spotlight blocks. Now I give you a switch just in case you turn them on when you're in the cockpit seat. You get out the cockpit seat, come out of the ship, walk around, realise they're on. I don't want you to have to go all the way back to the cockpit seat, so I give you a switch. And then close hatches. Doesn't actually do a lot on this one because there's only 2 hatches on this ship, and that's the access hatches into the nacelles. So if you accidentally leave them open, you flick that switch and it will close them. Hooray! Right, that'll be the end of that section. So the next section is going to be its CPU and upgrading. So CPU, I'm going to show you this in case you're skipping around in the video. The core is in the back, in the tail, under that slope, surrounded by a bit of armour. The CPU extensions are in engineering, and as I showed you earlier, they are tier 3, meaning that the ship is tier 3. It uses 835,000 of the 1.5 million you are allowed, so there's still space to play with. As for upgrading, I'm not entirely sure there's much you could do. So these are technically earmarked. So like I said, this ship is a modular construction, so I've given myself space for even tier 4 CPU extenders in case I need it for some of the ships that are going to be using this engineering segment. In fact, every single one of the 5 ships I have planned will use this engineering segment. So you could replace those with CPU extenders or something else if you wanted, but there's not really anything else you could upgrade. You could replace the tier 2 fuel tanks with the, are they calling them tier 3? Yes, they are. And all of the O2 tanks on this ship are the smalls, so I don't know why I opened that. So you could replace some of them with the larger ones, but because they're in basically either groups of 3 or, as you saw in the equipment ring right at the front here, oh, too far. It's just one tank on its own. There's not many you could replace. And there isn't really much space to do anything else with. So if you don't care about the RP of having a place to lounge around, you could actually expand this 280k cargo container. But to take this up to 320, would it be another 6? Maybe. So you could rip some of this out and extend if you wanted to. If you're not interested in this, you could maybe put more storage there too. I mean, there is even a controller here ready. Rip this out, fill it with extensions. It's up to you, but... of course on the outside, you could find some spots to strap on some more turrets to the exterior hull. So the spine up here is suspiciously 3 blocks wide, which just happens to be the same width as turrets. Also, these little pointy out bits, if you remove the railings, are also suspiciously the same size as a turret and would fit a turret quite nicely there and there. By all means, feel free to throw extra stuff on, but there's not really much in the way of actual built-in upgrade ability. Right, that'll be the end of that section. So the next section is going to be the last section actually, and it's other info. Right, so the first thing I'm going to talk about actually is the palette. I have not included any choices of primary colours on this ship. So the lore of this ship is the military weren't interested in fielding this gunship, so it was built just for civilians, so it doesn't have any military paints with it. Speaking of paints, of course, I have done my patented damage texture. Now, that to me looks like smouldering metal, and in case you care, it is that colour there in the palette and that texture. Now, some people might use that texture for other things. I use it for damage simply because if I don't do that and you lose a block, that to me doesn't look much like damage because those textures are used elsewhere on the ship. Right, so as for the naming convention of the Wimpomania ships, I consider myself to be a noob at building, that is N-O-O-B. And because of that, I call all of my ships either words that mean someone who is new at something, so synonyms of newbie, N-E-W-B-I-E, or synonyms of or words that mean someone who is first at something, which is why you end up with things like discoverer and freshman and beginner and frontiersman and stuff. One last thing to talk about before I go up to show you the ship kit, if you are interested, is how to deal with my blinkies, in case you don't like them. As usual, nav lights and flight strobes are easy, you just don't turn them on. The running lights and the anti-collision beacons. And the anti-collision beacons aren't really a problem if you're not using that switch there. If you're just using this one, then fine. But if you do want to use the other one, I will talk about how to turn them off. Actually, let's do it now. So there's the anti-collision beacons right at the bottom of the device groups under reg lights, the prefix, I should say, of reg lights. If they are active, turn off that switch to deactivate the group, and then you remove that shortcut, and they will never come on again. Similarly, but more simply, the running lights, that's the white ones you can see going on and off constantly, there. So if you don't like those, again, scroll to the bottom, reg lights, you're looking for running lights. No shortcut, just deactivate the block group, and then they'll never come on again. Normally, I would upload or update to the workshop, but of course I found a bit of painting I still need to do. I forgot in here. Duh. So, let's go up now to the construction area and show you the kit. Okay, here is the ship kit I'm using to build the segment ships. As you can see, it looks like quite a mess. So, oh, and also I have just a stern, which is where I start each ship. So that's just the engineering section here. So I spawn that and then add stuff to it. So here is the engineering section with the ramp and the pad already built in. See, engineering. Then we have the connectors that connect two segments together. Is this off? Has it run out of fuel? It has. Okie dokie, so here we have the foyer lock connector. So this has a proper foyer lock. So the one on the gunship, I've removed the starboard entry and exit because that's where the enemy would be, and this is quite weak. So I put that as full blocks. So we have the foyer lock with gravity generator, the O2, 2 ammo thingies and stuff. Then we have the medical connector. This one is also on the gunship. Hi. Then we have a production connector for additional production. A small, a large, the armor and small arms repair, small cargo box and a small cargo container. Then we have a habitation connector with a small bathroom, a double bunk with a wardrobe and a place to cook and eat. And a cargo connector with, as you can probably guess by the name, some cargo in it. and an ammo box. So all the connectors basically have O2, a gravity generator, and ammo. Alright, so that's those connectors. The other segments then, we have a garage bay segment for internal storage of HVs. You can probably tell that there's no top on these, and we'll get to that in a minute. Here we have a cargo segment. So this basically has 4 320 KSU cargo containers. No, it doesn't, Wimp. It does, and I'll show you in a minute. So the next segment is the survival segment. This is the segment that is on both the Discoverer, the one before the Greenhorn, and the Greenhorn. So here we have, so this is the layout that's on the Discoverer with the double window and the separate dining and sort of lounge-ish. Bedroom with the bathroom, yeah, and then this is the same as you saw. Then we have the gunship segment, which is obviously the one on the gunship that needs to be painted. Grr. Ah, that's why that bit isn't painted, because of course it's the bottom of that, yeah. And the habitation segment, which is similar to the survival segment, except it doesn't have the production and the storage in it. So this is sort of an all-in, or the survival segment is sort of an all-in-one. Whereas this one isn't, so we have a full proper lounge-ish. We have a proper kitchen diner. And we have 2 of the bedrooms with the double bunks and bathroom. Yeah. Then we have the things that go on top. So we have a normal flat top pad with the lights on it already on. Did I not do the motion sensor? No, I didn't, did I? Because this could be on multiple. Yes, of course. Then we have another flat top pad, except this one has access to ramps. So the idea is if that one is on top of a segment, I will add ramps actually to those blocks there. And then you can load up HVs from the sides rather than just from the back. Then we have a sort of a nothing lid that goes on top of one of the segments if I don't want anything up there. And here we have the lid for the cargo segment. So this has the extra cargo container extensions that would take those cargo containers up to 320. They're up here in this. And as you can see, some cargo boxes and a Wi-Fi as well. Then we have the rings. I call these rings because they're quite thin. So this is the equipment ring that goes between the frontmost segment and the cockpit-ish. And the astute among you will see that this has some drill lasers on it. So when I get to the asteroid miner, the updated fledgling, this will include the mining lasers. Otherwise I take them off when I copy paste. And then we have one of the thruster rings that is at the front to help with its mobility and agility, help with yaw and pitch and stuff. The arms, nacelles. So we have the ones that are on both the Discoverer and the Greenhorn, which is a single segment length thruster nacelle. Then we have a double length, which is actually 2 segments in length plus the connector that would go in between them. And then we have a double long, double wide. That's going to be on the big cargo ship version. The arms, of course, are up here. So one with a thruster and one without, depending on where on the ship it ends up being. Generally speaking, if it's right next to or hanging over the top of one of the nacelles, I will not bother with the thruster. And then we have the cockpits. There are 4 cockpits. There's a small single person cockpit, which, excluding the back wall and the front blocks made of glass, is only 2 blocks in length. And this is a similar style cockpit to my starter class, my frontiersman class, and my probationer class ships. Then we have a slightly larger 2-person cockpit, which again, apart from the back wall and the front glass, is 3 blocks long, and this is a similar cockpit style to my Initiate class, my Rookie tank, and my Pathfinder class. Yes, in fact it even has the same retractable roof as the Pathfinder. Then we have a slightly larger still 4-person cockpit, so again, not counting the back wall and the glass at the front, this is now 4 blocks long, so another block again. And this cockpit style is similar to the beginner class, the beginner class, and the initiate class. No, it's not. Innovator, yes. Oh, and the recruit class as well. Alright. And then finally we have the gunship cockpit. This is the one on the gunship, as you can probably recognise. So again, not counting the back wall and the front glass, this is actually 1 block longer again. 5 blocks. Still only 4 people though. And this one is in a similar style to the apprentice class, the forerunner class, and the plebe class. I couldn't remember the forerunner then. Aye, so there we go. Oh, and again, like I said in the tour for the Discoverer class, I'm not planning to release the kit onto the workshop because I don't want to force people to have to put devices into my custom device groups. However, if people are okay with dealing with the mess it makes over here in the device groups and the signals shortcuts, if you're willing to then readjust all of this in order to get away with auto grouping, then and you therefore want the kit, let me know and I will put it up on the workshop if I get enough people saying they want it. So 2, maybe not enough. 5 probably is. Right, so there we go. That'll be the end of the tour for the Greenhorn class Civilian Gunship. I hope you get some use out of it, and hopefully I will see you in another video for a different build. So thank you again, and goodbye.